Uh, uh, threads. How many of us have them? Threads. The ones you can depend on. Threads. How many of us have them? Unless you've been hiding under a rock, you've heard about one of the fastest growing social media platforms in history, Meta's new Threads app. In this episode of the Social Media Locker Room, I'm going to give you my first impression and share a few actionable tips about Threads. I'm Robin Marks, certified social media specialist, BA in communications and media with an academic background in emerging fields like social media, podcasting, and digital storytelling. At my day job, I'm a full-time social media lead with a focus on multi-brands, including business consultant, our CEO's personal brand, an award-winning streaming TV network, and a SaaS offering. Additionally, I own a social media solutions company, GPS LLC, serving mission driven organizations here in the Atlanta area. And as a content creator, I have built an audience of over 165,000 followers across all platforms. Let's get into it. Listen, when I tell you that Threads has literally consumed the internet. For all social media folks, that's like where we at, what we're doing. But also for content creators, musicians, business owners, a lot of people are just digging in. So I just wanted to take time while it was fresh on my brain because, I got to get this stuff out. I just wanted to jump on this morning and share it with you. So the first thing that's worth noting is that Twitter created or put a limit on how many how many tweets you could see a day, right? They went in like full on daggone communist mode. They was like, yo, you can't even see tweets now. And I think Meta saw that as an opportunity and jumped on it. You know what I'm saying? So that's what kind of led us here. I don't believe they were going to launch Thread so early, but they made the move to do so because they capitalized on that news wave. You know what I'm saying? They kind of like jumped on it and took advantage of the moment. There are several Twitter clones out there. So if you're on Threads already, cool, spend time there. Obviously, with that name value that Meta and Instagram possess, that's going to be probably the most prominent of the Twitter clones. But I just wanted to share a few with you in case you have time on your hands and you're like in like Twitter thread kind of mode and you want to find out what else is out there. So the first one that I want to talk about is Mastodon. I haven't really been on Mastodon at all. I know that it's one that kind of gives you more freedom to, express yourself freely. The next one is Blue Sky. Now, Blue Sky, I am on and I am quite active. It's kind of like the Wild West in a way. Like people are like saying and doing the most. Like it's so much happening there. It's a little messy, honestly. You know what I'm saying? So I haven't really had the best user experience there. But I would say that some very prominent um, figures and celebrities are there and active, and you could actually get responses from them. So that's pretty cool. Excuse me. The other one that I really like is T2. Not many people know about T2. T2 is, again, a Twitter clone, but the audience is primarily people in tech, people in CEOs of startups or employees at startups. Also, a bunch of social media marketers are there and just marketing people in general. So that's like my lane. So I really get a lot of value from T2. Actually had a meeting with one of their founders, which was pretty exciting. But the setback with T2 is that it's only available on your browser. So you can't really like use an app. So that's one thing that's a drawback for them. But I think obviously they'll be working on improving that. But with the way Threads is rolling, I don't know if they're going to be able to sustain relevance in this time. And the last couple I don't really have much experience on, but I would check them out. Co-host, Post.news and Substack notes. And one that I am trying is Spill. Spill is fun and it's interesting. It's just that with threads out, I'm really not trying to have something or do anything in terms of that style of social media that is that far away from Twitter. So I think the cool thing that they do is you can actually share a GIF or whatever, and then put your tweet or your commentary on top of it, which is fun and it looks cool on the feed. But again, ain't nobody got time for that. I'm like really like locked in on threads right now. So let's talk about threads. When I tell you, when I tell you in the first 2 hours, they had over 2 million users. Mind blowing, right? Within the first 4 hours, they had 5 million users. Crazy. Then, after their first night, they were up to 30 million users. Mark Zuckerberg dropped a thread on his account last night, and they're up to 70 million. A milli, 70 times. Like, it's crazy, y'all. So, like, Chat GPT, obviously, I believe, got up to 100 million subscribers in a month. I think that Threads is gonna smash that, and like it's really going down. So just a couple of notes. Again, this will be really quick. I just want to make sure that I share these thoughts with you while they're fresh. And if things change dramatically over the next couple of weeks, I'll come back on and talk about it. But I wanted to make sure I offered you some value. So for photos, one thing I really think is cool here on Twitter, when you post a photo, them joints crop to the way that Twitter wants you to see them or wants them to appear. So like you'll post like, like a YouTube thumbnail size joint and it'll bring it down to a square. You'll do, a stories vertical joint, it'll bring it down to a square. It's just like irritating as heck. But something that Threads does, which I really like, is they kind of adjust, or they actually adjust the size of the aspect ratio to reflect, what you post. So if you post a vertical joint, it comes up as a vertical joint. If you post a square, it's a square, and vice versa. I love that. Like big heart emoji, love it. It's so, so good. The other thing that I like is no hashtags, y'all. Hashtags have no relevance. I'm not even sure if they will let you do it, but that's what I'm reading and seeing, that they intentionally moved that out of this particular social media ecosystem where they are not going to make hashtags a thing. So over the last year or two, especially in the short form media realm, many of the experts are recommending not to use hashtags and still seeing results. So for me, in my mind of social media, I'm already kind of removing myself a little bit from that because I've seen results for my clients as well as myself, as well as at the job without using the hashtags. However, I still like to test here and there. It's really fascinating for me to have a platform that is like, no, we don't do hashtags. So I'm curious to see how that plays out. The next thing that I really like is when you're scrolling on the feed, right? So when you're scrolling on the feed, you'll see people's profile picture on the left-hand side, just like many of these Twitter type applications. But one thing that's really unique is that for the people you do not follow, a little plus sign appears over their profile picture. That indicates that you don't follow that person. If you want to follow them, with a click of a button, you can just tap it, which I think is dope. And it's for two reasons. It's dope because it makes it easy to follow accounts that you're interested in or that posted something that is of interest to you. But the second thing is that it helps you to identify who you're following and who you're not following on your feed. It'll let you know, like, because for me, like I follow thousands of people follow me, as I said earlier. So it's hard to know like who's who unless I have like a personal relationship or a real significant connection with them. So I think that's dope that you can kind of go through and be like, oh, I'm not following them. Like, who's this person I'm not following? Let me see. And you can check it out and then you can click the plus button. So I really like that. Another thing I like is that they're moving away from the grid format that Instagram made famous. You know what I'm saying? That the feed is like of the stuff that you on your profile, I should say, not your feed, but on your profile, it's really like the last things that you shared, the last things that you threaded, the last things that you replied to. So that's how people are going to get their first impression of you. Obviously, you still have your bio, your unique link, whatever it may be, but at the same time, the fact that a curated wall of images is not the thing here. I like that personally. I have been on the record to like for content creators to kind of like, unless you have like some deep rooted connection to it, to not give that as much energy as we have in the past. You know what I'm saying? And it's controversial. Some people still love that. And I'm not mad at it when I see it. And I'm okay to test it for my personal stuff, for my professional, and for my clients. However, I think getting to a place where we show up authentic, where we show up real, where we show up as ourselves, is what's going to separate businesses, content creators, you know, personal brands, the works in this era of AI, and artificial, and large language models like ChatGPT, Midjourney, all artificial intelligence, because things can be manufactured easily with a click of a button, but what cannot be manufactured quickly with just a press of a button is you, your unique self, your unique offerings, your unique voice and personality. So that's why I think this is dope, that it's just about your last thoughts, your last threads. Another thing I wanted to cover was vanity metrics on the site. So they display how many people follow you, but they don't display how many people you are following, which is very, very new. Just about every social media platform highlights how many followers you have and how many people you're following. And uh, and I'm obviously in this game, so I understand it. We have heavily weighted the ratio of followers to following over the years. You know what I'm saying? Like how many people you follow? 2,050,000. How many followers you got? 20. Oh, that's not a good look, right? And I think what they're doing is trying to shake it up, which I really like. And I know that Meta has been the bad guy for many years. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't want to go into the politics of it, but Meta has not had the best reputation over the last few years, and this is kind of making them almost like the knight in shining armor against the evil Twitterverse, right? And I think this is one thing that I really, really wanted to point out. And it really, warms my heart a little bit that we're taking a step away from, hey, how many are you following? How many, are following you? Another thing connected to the vanity metrics is that there are no view counts when you post a video, which is wild to me. Again, that's something that we're not used to because on all of these platforms, TikTok, YouTube Shorts, you know what I'm saying? Instagram Reels. The view count is important. People's instinct is to be like, oh, let me go to the person's page and see how many views they got. They ain't got no views. They ain't doing nothing. They ain't do that. Right? People are casting judgment based on a number. They're putting a rating or an opinion even on the quality of one's creative efforts based on a number, not on how they feel, but on how everyone feels. And if everyone is not feeling it, then I ain't feeling it either. And that's what we've been conditioned to do. I think removing that is almost like, and this is something that I just thought of, it's almost like when the NBA was playing in the bubble. We removed many of the factors that distracted the players, whether it's the crowd noise, whether it's being close to home so you can go chill with your boys, whether it was the type of food that you were eating when you were away from the team, whatever factors that might contribute to a player, playing better or worse, that was all removed in the bubble year. And then they just had to ball. One could argue if they continue with deprioritizing vanity metrics on this platform, that they'll create our version of the social media bubble, like the NBA. I'm just saying. I just made that up. Don't. You know what I'm saying? You could clip that and put that on your on your TikTok. Anyway, so another thing. Listen, does this begs a question to me? Is Meta trying to just move everybody to a new app? History would prove that they want to have their cake and eat it too. So like Facebook came out, Instagram came out. Instagram did not replace Facebook. There's a whole audience. When you're on Facebook, you see your auntie, you see the person that you went to high school with, you see a college classmates, all of that. And Instagram is a different wave. I would lean towards believing that this is just going to create a new like segment of their audience and provide a service that's unique from the other platforms. So we'll see what happens. So I want to drop some suggestions and some tips here. So one thing that I'm noticing folks do is just thread. Some of the people who are really active, they're just threading, which is good. And don't overthink it. Like it's okay to thread as much as you want to, right? I see some people saying, do like 5 to 8 a day and make sure they're super intentional. I get that. I'm not against that. I would say in these early days, because the platform is so new and they want to actually boost engagement for all of the accounts, I would say just pump out as many as you want to. Some people tweet hundreds of times a day, right? You can thread as much as you want to. The only caveat to that is that you don't want to be out here just saying anything willy-nilly. You don't want to like drop a thread with like 2 heart emojis. It's just wow. Like, come on, we're not there yet. You know what I'm saying? Twitter people do it all the time. People will drop like a side eye when something happens, like an NBA star, right? Unless you have a following of 1 million people, I wouldn't recommend doing that. So with that, I would also recommend reposting and quoting, when you do that. So like share those threads of people that you like, share those threads that move you, and then also see if you can drop something on it, like add your commentary to them as well. You don't have to do it every time. You can just share them joints as is. That's fine. But I would also recommend trying to add a quote. Ninja trick, try to make the quote a question or some kind of prompt to get a response from your audience. Another thing that I'd like to see more of us do is share your threads to IG. Don't abandon your IG. Your IG is not on fire. It's not a sinking ship. It's still a sturdy spot, right? What you want to do though is share your thread content over there. You don't have to do it every single day. I would recommend at least testing it out, you know what I'm saying, to see what kind of response you get. If people take to it and it picks up some traction, then I would recommend, turning up the frequency of sharing those. You can share them as stories. You can actually share them on your feed. I'd recommend trying both, especially in these first couple of weeks. And if you're not getting traction when you do that, just pivot and move on to something else. One other thing that I wanted to go over was ideas for your threads. So I see a lot of the memes are popping. So if you have access to memes, I will go for it. Another thing that I see that are popping are actual GIFs or GIFs, however you pronounce it. So you could grab a GIF and then you can throw some, text under it. This is how I did that thing, whatever it may be. And then another thing that I'm seeing is just when people are dropping like jewels, like if you have like quotes, jewels, just like lessons, advice, you have 500 characters. Unlike Twitter, with 240, you have 500 characters. So you got a lot of real estate. So provide some value, give some instructions, actionable steps, you know what I'm saying, advice, but then end with some kind of like prompt or call to action or even a question to be like, hey, what do you think? Give me your top 5, whatever the case may be. So that way you can kind of encourage your audience to give you that engagement that will help the algorithm to cook a little bit. And this is the last thing I gotta say. Resist the urge to be salesy. Resist the urge. Resist the urge to be salesy. Now, I get it. Most of us have products. Most of us have services. Most of us have albums, right? You know what I'm saying? Whatever it is, your YouTube page, your podcast, your music video, all of the things, right? Chill, yo. And again, I can only speak for myself, and I'll raise my hand because folks come on here and they're like, "Well, I'm a social media manager and a specialist," right? I gave you the rundown, but when it comes to threads, I'm still a baby. I am literally 3 days old at the time of recording this. I'm literally 3 years old. So I don't know everything. But what I do know is what I know. And when I scroll my feed and people are promoting their stuff, it makes me feel icky in this space. On Instagram, it's fine because ads are a part of the ecosystem, right? Facebook, I'm expecting ads. I'm expecting them. Even on Twitter, I'm expecting ads. Let's wait until they go there before we go there. Because what's going to happen is early on in the game, the new people who you get exposed to are going to already put you in that bucket of, oh my God, he's trying to sell me something. You're skipping a step. You know what I'm saying? You can't walk in. I did a thread about it last night. You can't get to Walmart, right? And when you pull up the whip, you pull up to the drive-in, into the parking lot, you drive in, unstrap your seatbelt, get out of your car. And when you get out of your car, your man walks up to you with his cash register outside. So you get out your car, he pulls up to you with his cash register outside in the parking lot and is like, yo, buy my album. What are we doing, y'all? I'm gonna be mindful of how I say this. I'm gonna give you some love, some tough love. Nobody cares about your album. Nobody cares about your product or service, right? Nobody cares about your YouTube channel. What they care about is what value you can provide for them. So if I start off the relationship with, hey, can you buy my thing and support an artist that you don't know? Can you support a business that you don't know? Can you support a coach that you don't know? You're just gonna ruin a relationship from the start. You can't ask somebody to marry you on the first date. So please, I urge you, stop with the salesy threads. In a couple months, we're gonna be there, right? And you can be strategic about it. I'm just letting you know as a consumer. And again, I raise my hand. I'm not the expert on this yet. I'm 3 days old, but I'm telling you, it looks nasty. And especially if you do that and you don't see any kind of engagement, like nobody likes it, nobody shares it, it's because they might unfollow you. It's just it's a little nasty, right? So if you disagree, let me know in the comments. And listen, to connect with me, all you have to do is visit bit.ly/Robin Marks Nathaniel. I give out free stuff on the email list if you want to get some of that. Thank you so much for pulling up to the social media locker room. Talk to you soon.